All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 524 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about Georgia Southern. Today is their signing day. And it's kind of interesting because, not much talking about in college football. Signing day just crept up on everybody. I didn't, it kind of, crossed my mind yesterday. Like, wait a minute, we're going to have another signing day for college football. So I'm going to look and see what Georgia Southern's doing. Also, we're going to talk about the NFL. Is it scripted or rigged or whatever the case may be? This whole situation has been, kind of gaining some steam ever since the conference championships games. So I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions about it. And it's interesting talk because, people are making jokes about it on the internet and, you have all this other stuff going on and, you have Arian Foster saying some things. It's interesting, I will say that. So we'll talk about that as well. Don't normally go outside of Georgia Southern or Atlanta Falcons, but I just found this topic pretty interesting. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I could be found on the YouTube or Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. If you want to support the show, all the links are down in the description. This show is also brought to you by BetUS. Click that link and put down $100. That will give you a 125% bet book bonus, and you can put down wages on all types of sports, whether it be the Super Bowl that's coming up, in the NBA, MMA, esports, certain players in certain leagues, all that stuff. You can put wages down on all of that stuff. So that'll be, in my opinion, an awesome way to try to double or triple or even quadruple your money. So hopefully that works out for you. And I'm going to sit here and just talk about this situation with signing day and the NFL scripted or rigged situation. I find it really interesting. So far, Georgia Southern has signed one person, and that person is Keon Wallace so far for the signing day as the time that I'm doing this episode. And it's pretty cool that we're getting another wide receiver, 6'3", 210 pounds from Springfield, Georgia. If you know anything about Springfield, Georgia, you may not know, it's like pretty much between Savannah and going up towards, I say Augusta, or probably in between. Yeah, pretty much that. It's pretty much Savannah and Augusta. If you drive that way, it's pretty much almost in the middle. And Effingham County does have some pretty decent talent there. They always had some talent going through there. And to see Mr. Wallace signing with Georgia Southern is another big pickup that we need. With us running the air raid offense, you want to have that type of type of player. 6'3", 210, had 27 catches, 476 yards, and 10 touchdowns as a senior in high school. You don't really hear those type of numbers too much in high school. I know some wide receivers do like phenomenal numbers, but for him to have 10 touchdowns in a season, that goes to show you that he can catch the ball and find the end zone. So with BJ Johnson coming in as the coach Brian Ellens as the offensive coordinator, I think they're going to be priming him up as well as the other receivers that we have to do great things, because now you have Wallace, you have other guys like Elijah Walton at tight end, you have DeAndre Buchanan, KD Dorsey, the guy, the two transfers, one from Pitt, one from Syracuse. Then you have all the other guys. You got Sam Kenderson coming back. You got Derwin Burgess. You have Marcus Sanders. We have a lot of good receivers that's going to be on this team, and just adding on Wallace onto the roster is just going to be, another weapon that we can use. I don't know how much he's going to be playing out the gate, but if you have like that thrive and you have that push like a Marcus Sanders or even Jet Thompson, guys who came in already as freshmen and made an impact in the game and on the field. So you just never know. One thing I like about Coach Clay Helton, they're not really afraid to play their freshman players. If they're about that life and they're actually producing, they're going to get that opportunity. One thing I did love seeing is how many true freshmen made an impact on this team. all the way from the offensive side of the ball when you have a Marcus Sanders or O.J. Arnold or a Jet Thompson, all the way to the defensive side of the ball when you have, Latrell Bullard and, oh goodness, who's the other guy? I can't remember. Mark Stampley and others that actually did pretty well, So even the Pashawn Wemleys, who was able to start as an offensive lineman out the gate, those things are like really, really cool. When you have guys who are absolutely talented at their position and you put those guys out there. We're going to see with the size of a Keon Wallace at 6'3", 210 pounds, he's probably one of those guys that you want to get out there because he's going to be that possession guy. So we'll see how that plays out. So I'm waiting to see what other guys are going to be signed when it comes to the rest of signing day. I can't wait to see what goes on. Like right now, it's actually pretty slow right now because you usually get guys signing like back to back. Usually, but it's just not going down right now. Maybe because this is the second round of signing day and we got pretty much everybody that we wanted. So you're probably going to trickle in maybe 6 or 7 more guys. That's just my opinion. I'm not necessarily true, but we'll see how it goes. So shout out to Mr. Keon Wallace signing with Georgia Southern, staying home basically. Springfield to Statesboro is literally maybe 30 minutes away. So, the family's going to be able to come down and see him, all his other family and friends that are in the area. They don't have to travel far from Effingham County to Bullock County. So that's going to be really, really cool to have, just that circle that's still going to be there for support. They don't have to travel far to get to Paulson Stadium. So that's awesome. Before I get into the scripted situation with the NFL, there's rumblings that there's not rumblings, but it's official now, quote unquote official, that Tom Brady's retired. I really don't. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't care at this point. I will say this: Tom Brady, this last season he had was a very unfulfilling season, and I'm not getting into all the personal stuff, but it just looked really bad for him in the last part of his the last season. Him losing his wife and losing his kids. I don't know what the whole situation was behind that. So, like I said, I don't want to get into that. But it just looked bad. You come back that last season, you lose, you end up getting a divorce, and on top of that, there were moments that he did look good on the field. Don't get me wrong. There was a couple of comeback victories that he had, but then again, there was some other times that he really looked like an old man on the field. He really looked like an old man playing football. I mean, he was getting real frustrated. He was fussing. He was kicking. He was really pushing on. It looked really bad. It was like 4 or 5 times he kicked my Atlanta Falcon team. He kicked him around after getting sacked or getting hit, and those other times he just looked really bad on the field. But he had some moments. Great career. But I whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. He did beat my Falcons in the Super Bowl. That was a phenomenal comeback. And I mean, I don't think no other quarterback could have done that, what he did. And it's, I'll say it was a pleasure watching him play overall, even though, like I said, he beat my Falcons in the Super Bowl. It was a pleasure watching him play. And he's definitely going to be probably the greatest quarterback of all time when it's all said and done. I am, as of right now, I think he is. But I think once we get to a couple of generations after Brady, we're really going to start to see what type of impact that Brady had on the game, because you're going to have other quarterbacks that's coming in that's actually going to be probably going after that. 7 Super Bowls, probably not, But as far as, all the other things that he's done, that you're going to have other quarterbacks that's going to try to go after that. Will it happen? Probably not, but you will really understand that it will be solidified after the Mahomes come through, after the Burrows come through, the Justin Herberts, the Jalen Hurts, I don't know if Trey Lance is going to be playing again, but you have that playing, to that level, but you have these players that are coming up that has all well intentions to play, probably not as long as he have, but they have the opportunity to be as accomplished as he has. So I don't think it's going to happen. But once the new generation falls off and they start riding to the sunset, then you're going to look back and be like, hey, look at Tom Brady. Look what he's done. It only make it more significant at that point. So it's going to be interesting to see. To me, it kind of like, before I get into the scripted stuff, it kind of reminds me of like looking at the video game side of the world. And I know it may not make sense, but give me a second. I have another channel that does video games, and I do video games and I talk video games. I do a lot of stuff over there. It's called the VF Cast YouTube channel. And a lot of video games really don't get their flowers until like 5, 6, 7 years down the road, sometimes 10. So like right now it's 2023. Wait till about 2029, 2030, 20, you know what I'm saying? Once you get to that time and space and you see what the quarterbacks of today are doing, then you're going to go back and say like, wait a minute, Tom Brady done this and these other guys did not really, catch up to what his accomplishments were. So it's kind of like that. Cause like with video games, you look back, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, a lot of people started to realize how great those consoles were at the time. But once those consoles was done and they were going to the PS4, a lot of people were not even thinking about it. But now you're starting to look at it now with the PS5. A lot of people want a PS2 again. It's just really, really interesting. But enough of that. Speaking of the Super Bowl, the 28-3 situation, was that scripted? Is the game rigged? When you look at the recent NFC, AFC championships, were those rigged? Were those scripted? Is Arian Foster talking? Was he on point? I will say this. I did a video about this, or I did an episode about this a while back. I can't remember what number it is. You can go back and check when I talked about the LA Rams. And I talked about why the NFL was so adamant about getting these guys a championship. I believe that the move to them back to LA and getting them guys making sure those guys win a championship was really important to the NFL and getting into the LA market once again. Because a lot of people don't realize the NFL really don't work that well in the LA market. This is why that the Rams left a couple of times and the Raiders left. A lot of kids may not know that the Las Vegas Raiders used to be the LA Raiders at one time. No, they were the Oakland Raiders before. Then they went to LA, then they went back to Oakland, and now they're in Las Vegas. I mean, that just goes to show you that's a bad look on LA and Oakland, to be honest with you. But when you look at the whole situation with LA, they never was a really good market for the NFL. Is it a good market for sports? Yeah, I think it's a good market for sports. You have the Lakers, you have the Dodgers, you have the Clippers. You also have USC football. I don't think UCLA is there. No, UCLA isn't there. But you have USC football. You have all these other things there. The LA Kings, LA Galaxy. You have a lot of stuff, but for some reason, the NFL does not really bode well for the NFL. So I think that what they tried to do is get LA and the Chargers into the LA market and get one of those guys or one of those teams to prominence. Because before the Rams made it to LA, those guys, after the Kurt Warners of the world and the Isaac Keems and the whole greatest show on turf, the St. Louis Rams wasn't really too much anything. And there's a big story behind the St. Louis situation, leaving St. Louis to LA, but that's a whole nother story for another day I don't want to get into. But when they got to LA, you started seeing them getting draft picks. They were signing all these players. There was, in my opinion, I thought they were supposed to win the Super Bowl that year that Tom Brady beat them, but they run right back and get to the Super Bowl, and they end up beating the Bengals. I find that this was something really weird going on with the LA team. And I feel like it was a situation where the NFL wanted to get these guys a Super Bowl. So do I feel like it's scripted? No, I don't. But I do believe that there's something going on where some, executives in the NFL try to push certain teams and push certain narratives. I also think this happens in the NBA as well. So there's something there. I will say that something isn't right. And I don't think that it's 100%, oh, this team is going to do that. But there's some elbow nudging to get certain teams and certain players in certain situations. That is totally my opinion. I really believe that. So there's something about it. But I don't know what Arian Foster's talking about. They said to get a script in the beginning of the season. I think that's wild. But I think that sometimes along the line, like let's say mid-season or when the playoffs start, there is some type of nudge towards a certain team, because I believe that it's money at the end of the day. I firmly believe that there's some marketing there to where you may want to see Andy Reid go up against his former team, or the two Kelsey brothers play against each other for the first time in a Super Bowl, two brothers going against each other on the field. You also have the situation with Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, the racial component. I mean, I don't really like to talk about that type of stuff, but I believe it's real. I believe that they try to get that up there. I don't think it would have been very interesting to have, like, let's say the Giants, playing, who's the other AFC team that was there that wasn't really prominent? The Giants playing the Jaguars per se. I don't think there would have been too much to hang their hat on as far as storylines or whatever the case may be. Or, you know what I'm saying? So I don't really think it was anything, I ain't gonna say profitable, but anything to talk about. So I think there is some component to it. But for me to say that it is like necessarily rigged or whatever or script, it's hard for me. I think that's a stretch. But like I said, I think there's some type of nudge or some type of push to get certain things to happen. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't. But they will try to put that in place. So that's just my opinion about it. I can go into other situations to where they want certain players to be this, that, and the third, and so they'll push the narrative or whatever the case may be. But that will be, I will be here all day, and I'm not sure if that's be viable to do so. But like I said, it does happen in NBA as well. I believe it happens in NBA. Not sure about baseball, but I believe it happens in both, where both teams will actually try to, or both entities will try to nudge a certain narrative. Enough of that. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think about signing day. I mean, I think that, we're going to see some more signings. I don't know how much of the signing that we're going to see, but I really would like Georgia Southern to get some really decent players to continue what Coach Clay Helton is doing. He's been doing great. I'm be honest. He's been doing a really good job. Also, what do you think about the NFL? Scripted, rigged? What do you think? I gave you my thoughts and opinions on that. I think they nudge a narrative. Also, you can find me on YouTube and Rumble. Also on Anchor, Stitch, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Let me know what you guys think. Click all the links down in the description if you want to support the show, whether it be through BetUS, Cash App, PayPal. It doesn't matter. I really would appreciate all the support. Thank you guys. I will see you guys on the next one. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.